Continue with this. We have been discussing foreign policy in chapter 4, and today we are going to discuss a little bit about group psychology. And these are the implications of group psychology for foreign policy decision making. In one respect, groups promote rationality by balancing out the blind spots and biases of an individual. Advisors or legislative committees may force a state leader to reconsider a rash decision, and the interactions of different individuals in a group may result in the formulation of goals that more closely reflect state interests rather than individual idiosyncrasies. Groupthink refers to the tendency of groups to reach decisions without accurately assessing their consequences, because individual members tend to go along with ideas they think the others support. Useful thinking, both individual misperception and group psychology, encourage overconfidence and excessive optimism among decision makers. This general tendency in every government especially make the period of the United States invasion of Iraq. Here, President Bush declares victory on an aircraft carrier in May 2003, which was not true. Okay. The structure of a decision-making process, the rules for who is involved in making the decision, how voting is conducted, and so forth can affect the outcome, especially when no single alternative appeals to a majority of participants. These rules include the items of business the group discusses and the order in which proposals are considered, especially important when participants are satisfying. State leaders often rely on an inner circle of advisors in making foreign policy decisions. The positions and operation of the inner circle vary across governments. In the crisis management, the difficulties in reaching rational decisions, both for individuals and for groups, are heightened during a crisis. Crises are foreign policy situations in which outcomes are very important and time frames are compressed. Working under stress, crisis management takes a high toll psychologically. President Edward Journeys of Georgia seems to show this strength in 1992, just the beginning of years of civil war and perpetual crisis in the country. Groupthink occurs easily during crisis. During the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, President John F. Kennedy created a small close group of advisors who worked together intensively for days on end, cut off from outside contact and discussion, and that was groupthink. Participants in a crisis decision making not only are rash but also experience severe psychological stress. Amplifying the biases just discussed, decision makers tend to overestimate and underestimate their own hostility. Domestic influence. Compare the influence of public opinion and interest groups on the foreign policy process, and this is the domestic influence. The remainder of this chapter considers other liberal theoretical approaches that, like the democratic peace, operate at the domestic level of analysis. The actions of the state in the international arena result from individual human choices by citizenry, political leaders, diplomats, and bureaucrats, aggregated through the state's internal structure. Bureaucracies on the many state actors that influence state actions in the international arena. Those closest to the actions are the bureaucratic agencies that states maintain for developing and carrying out foreign policies. Different states maintain different foreign policy bureaucracies, but these bureaucracies share some common elements. Diplomats, ambassadors, and foreign ministries. Diplomats, almost all states maintain a foreign service of diplomats working in embassies in a foreign capitals and in consulates located in non-capital foreign cities, as well as diplomats who remain at home help coordinate foreign policy. The ambassadors, states appoint ambassadors as their official representatives to other states and to international organizations. Foreign ministry diplomatic activities are organized through a foreign ministry or the equivalent, for example, the U.S. State Department. Diplomats provide much of the information that goes into making foreign policies, but their main goal is to carry out their activities than create policies. The national interest is served, the bureaucrats believe, by the stability of overall national goals and position in international affairs. Tensions is common between state leaders and foreign policy bureaucrats. Politicians struggle to exercise power over the former bureaucratic agencies because the latter can be too bureaucratic. The power of this agency is their proximity to the U.S. President, the National Security Council chief traditionally briefs the President every morning on international security issues. Interagency tensions also affect the formulation of foreign policy. In an extreme example of interagency rivalry, the U.S. State Department and the CIA back opposite sides in a civil war in Laos in 1960. In the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, the Defense Ministry foreign military strength and the Foreign Ministry of the State Department favoring diplomacy. Bureaucrats promote policies under which their own capabilities will be effective and their role will increase. Although representatives of bureaucratic agencies usually promote the interests of their own bureaucracies, sometimes heads of the agencies try to appear loyal to the state leader by foregoing the interests of their own agencies. Units within agencies have similar tensions in many countries. The different military services, Army, Navy, Air Force, pull in somewhat different directions. In general, bureaucratic rivalry as an influence on foreign policy challenges the notion of states and unitary actions in the international system. Thank you for your attention.